Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're going to be playing 4 squares. Now, it's an extremely unusual thumbnail here that I went for, but when you see the grid itself, you'll understand. And today we're playing a puzzle from FullDeck and missing a few cards. One of my favorite set of constructors. Their puzzles always seem to be extremely clever and requires quite a bit of concentration. Anything to say? I mean, I'm just sort of trying to depict the grid. There's no point trying to describe the thumbnail. Let's just take a look at the grid itself and the rule sets, of course. So, jump right in. So rules-wise, from Foursquare by FullDeck and missing a few cards, normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. That part is obvious. Renban lines, so digits along each Renban line must form a set of non-repeating consecutive digits in any order. Regular viewers of the channel will be familiar with this. So if you imagine, for example, that there is a 2 in here, that means that the rest of this Renban line could be 1, 3, 4, 5, for example, and it can be in any order. So it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do something silly like 5, 4, 1, 3. That would be totally fine. Now, it doesn't have to be the 1. It could be a 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That also works as long as they're consecutive in any order. That's fine. What it cannot be is a 7 instead of the 6. So that would break the Renban rule sets. Last but not least, we've got Kropki pairs. So digits and cells separated by a black dot are in a 2-to-1 ratio. So if that cell here is a 2, that would have to be 1 or 4, so that one cell is essentially double the other across the black dot. We also have white dots, so digits in a cell separated by a white dot are consecutive. So if that cell here is a 2, this would have to be 1 or 3, I mean, ignore that 1 in the same row, to make sure that these 2 cells are indeed consecutive. Not all dots are shown, so a 2 here with a 4 without a black dot, they are clearly in a 2-to-1 ratio, that is not a problem. If that was a 2 with a 1 here, no need for a white dot either. So that's all the rules. You can see the 4 squares. You can see kind of more concentric squares. It's very interesting geometry for sure, and I'm really looking forward to trying to solve this. If you want to play along, as usual, there will be a link down in the description below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock, see how I get on. I do this often where I take a moment to sort of just observe and think, and maybe what I should do is externalize. So one thing that's sort of catching my eye in general is the length of a lot of these Renbans. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cell Renban. 5 cell Renban, 5 cell Renban. So far 4. 5 is significant because regardless of whether I have a 9 on here, that would still require 6, 7, 8. Sorry, let's try that again. 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. 5 will be on here. And the same is true if this is a 1. So if you go for extreme digits, it still is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 cell Renbans, or greater than 5 cell Renbans, all have to have a 5 on them. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks longer than 5 cells. It's 6 cells. Sorry, how many have I got? 5, 6, 7, 8. And there is none inside square 5. I mean, there are Renbans that go into box 5, excuse me, not square 5, box 5, but they're all 4 cells. So if you ignore these for a second, I think what I'm saying is I have to have a 5 in all of these Renbans, and there is 8 of these lines, ignoring box 5, so we can't have any 5s outside of box 5 that are not on one of these Renbans, which is a little bit easier said than done, but I mean, there's a few places to start, such as take a look at box 2. There's only one of the lines that's going in one of the rows. In fact, because this is a black Kropki dot, because 5 can never go on there. It would have to be either joint with a 2.5 or a 10, which doesn't work. One of these cells is a 5. One of these 2 cells is a 5, same logic. One of these 3 cells is a 5. One of these 3 cells is a 5. So that's 4 of them, and then obviously the remaining 4 are in here. I'm actually sort of half tempted just to quickly color to see if I can place some of these 5s, because you can see that there's like a crossing pattern that's being created here because of these 5s. But at the same time, this crossing pattern seems to go a bit further here because of this black Kropki dot. So what I'm going to do quickly, just in case, is highlight all the cells that cannot be 5s and just give them a color to see if I can see something of significance. This could end up being a total waste of time, by the way. So I do apologize for that. I don't know if it will be a total waste of time or not without giving it a go. I think these are all the cells that cannot be 5, pardon me. It goes a bit further than that, I think. Kind of. I'm trying to think if these corners can be 5. And I think the answer is some of them can, maybe some of them can't. So I'm just going to try this for a second. If this is a 5, well, no 5s here, that would be a 5. No 5s here, that would be a 5, which normally would break, but you've got a 5 potentially in the corner here. So at least that corner is fine. Would that corner be fine as well? I think so, because I don't have to have them on the outside, so to speak. I could have one on the inside, and then that would work, for example. So I'm not sure I can actually remove any of the corners. I don't think this is the way to progress it. And I'll be honest, I'm really disliking what I'm about. Actually, hang on, I can remove these. I can remove these because remember, in every one of these boxes, the 5s have to be on one of the Renban lines. So this doesn't count because then how am I going to put a 5 on? Yeah, Sleuth, pay attention. Right, so these are gone. So now I think this 5 breaks. Yes. Right. And I think that would be true for any of them. Yeah. Right, so I can also remove all the corners as well. And essentially I end up with this pattern where if this is a 5, that would be a 5, that would be a 5, and that would be a 5. Or if this is the 5, that would be the 5, that would be the 5, that would be the 5. And I have like a double X-wing, so to speak, if such a thing exists. But I mean, the important part is I haven't placed any digits, and it hasn't resolved. I mean, I have 2 sets that are valid options at the moment, so that's not very helpful. I'm not sure I'm going to lose these colors just yet, by the way. I am going to keep them for now because, well, I mean, they're only 2s, so maybe what I could do is just corner pencil mark these 5s and then remove the colors. A little bit harder to see for sure, but I may need the colors for something else. So I'll just, I'll voice a lot of my thoughts. I dismissed rotational symmetry, even though it does exist in a lot of places. Black Kropki dots are always very tricky to be rotationally symmetrical. Because, if that's 8 and 4, that would have to be 2 and 6, which just doesn't work. It's nonsense. And obviously we've actually been given digits, and 1 and 2, 9 and 7. not exactly rotationally symmetrical. So we'll leave that aside for a second and just... So the other intuitive thing that's coming to me is that these corner Renban lines that are exactly 5 cell long, I think they are extremes. I feel like reasonably confident that's true. And actually these 1s and 2s probably confirm it. Here, so essentially, the way I'm sort of thinking about this is intuitively, or at least knowing how FullDeck and missing a few cards tend to construct their puzzles, I think it's something like this. One of these is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other one of these is 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. But obviously, that's just intuition. That's not necessarily solid logic. But in particular, if I look in box 9, and it's true in box 1, box 1 is probably actually a lot more useful. I'll come back to it. If this is not extreme 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how can I actually make this work? Because I have 3 cells that would be consecutive, and then this is a white dot. You can't lose sight of the fact that this is a white dot. So these 4 are actually consecutive too. You know, whatever this cell is. Oh no, they're not exactly consecutive, obviously, because this is a Renban that's going that way. I've made that mistake before. No. Let's go back to the 1. Right. Much simpler, much simpler. Take a look at row 1 and tell me where the 1 goes. And the answer is it's not in box 2. The answer is it's one of these Renbans, which will immediately make it an extreme Renban of 1 through to 5. Now, I'm telling you it's not 1, 2, 3 to 4, 1 to 5 on this Renban, because that leaves me with 6, 7, 8, 9, and a black Kropki dot. And, you know, 6 and 8 do not work on a black Kropki dot together. So this has to be the 1, and this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Renban. None of these are 5s. None of these are 1s. And then we have the same thing. This cannot be a 1. So of, you know, 1's Sudoku means that 1's is one of these 3 places. But if I turn that into a 1, I have the same problem that I was trying to avoid, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, including a black Kropki dot, which wouldn't work with 6 and 8. So one of these is a 1. And I can tell you that is not the 1, because the 1 would require a 2. Actually, that could be the 1. And then that would be a 3. That's actually fine. Ignore what I just said. Ignore it. I didn't say any nonsense there. Is that really 10 minutes in and I haven't placed a single digit? Goodness me. Either the puzzles are really getting harder lately, or I've lost like my skill or something. So something's going on. Right, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just pencil that in. 7 is not here because of this 7. So 7 is in one of 2 cells. So this has at least 8, potentially 9. And that would make it 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So this is 3, 4, 6, or 8. If it's 6 or 8, that would be 3, 4. Feels very tight with this kind of Renban. I could do something ridiculous like 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is possible. But I can't go lower than 3. So if that is a 4, that still has to be 8, and this has to be 6. Come on, Sleuth, surely we can do better than this. Maybe the 2 here. That's 2, even if it's 2, 3, hang on, even if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm left with 7, 8, 9, and a 1. So it's either 6, 7, 8, 9 or 7, 8, 9 and 1. I still have a problem with the black Kropki dot. So the 2 can't be down here. The 2 has to be here, essentially applying the same logic that we did with the 1 with the 2. That makes this 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe with a 6, maybe with a 1. And this has to, I mean, these have to have, well, this has to be the 9 because the 9 is not on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 even. And this 9 removes it from here, so one of these is a 9. So that is definitely a 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 Renban. And of those numbers, 4, 8, and 6 are the possibilities. If it's an 8, that would be a 4. If it's a 4, that would be an 8 because it can't be a 2. And if it's a 6, that would be a 3. And then the 2 is essentially one of these 3 cells, just Sudoku. So it'll be one of these 3. We've already proven it can't be on this Renban, so it would have to be on this one. Right, surely we can disprove one of these. What is it saying? So there's a 2 on this Renban, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can this really be a 2 to 7 Renban? I don't know is the answer. 9 is over here. Right, that's a little bit easier. Sudoku says 9 is up there, which makes this 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, of the options that can go on a black Kropki dot, it can only be 1 and 4. So that's, sorry, 2 and 4. So that's 2, 4. That's 1, 3. From that is a 1. That is a 3. I don't think I can resolve these any further. That's not a 3. Not exactly fantastic deductions here. That is not a 2. This cell here has to be on this Renban. And because we have a 1, there's actually a 6 on here as well. So there's essentially 5, 6 with this 2, 4 on this Renban. I can tell you from where the 2 cells are around the 9, that is not a 9 joining a 5 or 6. So that's not a 9, that's the 9. I mean, we're placing digits, but it's not exactly like falling apart despite all the logic that's been poured in. So, Yeah, I did say this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at most, oh no, it's not even 7. At most, this cell is 6. So this is not 8 or 9, this is 6 or 7. Can it even be a 6? Yeah, we need to do something about this. We need to determine what's going on here. Can this be 1, 6, sorry, 1, 7, 8, 9? I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no. Yeah, because I can't satisfy this black Kropki dot. That always comes back to the challenge. So this has to be, no, excuse me. So the options are 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, and a 9. Is that correct? Yes, I think that's right. And 1, 2, 3, and a 9 seems ridiculous because the 9 can't be here. The 9 would have to go here with an 8. So this is, and I'm sorry, I definitely am over pencil marking. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9. And one of these 2 cells is a 5. And this is another 1, 2, 3, 4. None of these are a 2. If that's a 1, that would be a 2, which it isn't, so that's not a 1. If that's a 2, that would, in fact, we've done this before. That has to be a 2. That has to be a 4. These are not 2s or 4s. That's another 1, 3 pair. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 setup. So this is 4, 5, and 6 in here, which makes this a 7. Not a 7. Not a 6 either, for that matter, because I've got 4, 5, 6. This is not 6 or 7. This is another 8, 9 pair. It's not 1, 3, or 4 up here. That's a 2. It's certainly making you work hard for every digit. Kind of hoping it'll get easier. That's not a 4. It's probably because I am over pencil marking. This is not my style. And whenever I do, I tend to get into trouble. 4 is not connected to a 1. Sleuth, that's a 3. That's a 1. That's not a 3. That's not a 6. Therefore, this is a 4-8 pair. Lovely. It can be a 4 because that could be 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. That is still possible. And I'm fairly sure this has to be 1, 2. I mean, that could be a 1 and a 4, and then 2 and 3. So not exactly, no, hang on. 4 puts an 8 in here, puts a 4 there, which means that the 1 in all of this box can't be on any of these cells. Not obviously on a Renban with 9, on a 6-cell Renban, and not on a 4-cell Renban with 8. So this is, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, I shouldn't pencil mark the 5. Didn't mean to remove the 4 here. And this is not 1, 2, or 4. That is a 3. Very unintuitive to 3. This is not 2, 3, or 4. That's 1 or 5. This is not 2 or 4. That's another 1, 5. These are not 1s. This is a 2, 4 pair. I'm incredibly, despite seeing these 5s at the beginning, I actually haven't resolved them, which I admit I'm not really getting. What am I missing? Shall we think about this box? There's a lot of boxes we haven't really thought that much about. So I think I should. This Renban, for example, has to have an 8 on it. That 8, for example, is not here, not there. Where is the 8? That's the only place for it. This is 6, 7. This is probably helpful. I guess that is 5, 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is not 5 or 9. This is 6, 7, or 8. Remember, there are 6s that has to be on this Renban. We've already pencil marked that, so that's 7. That's 6. This is not 6 or 7. That's an 8. This means this is 5, 6 with the missing 2, 4. That's the missing 2, 4. That's good. That has to be the 6 then. And this is 2, 4, 5. There has to be a 7 in here to join up the 6, 8. That could be a 7, that could be the 7. We don't know yet. And then either a 9 or a 5. 5 would be very interesting. It can only be in here. And then that would be 7. Interestingly, if it's not a 5 and it's a 9, well, the 9 says that would have to be the 9. So this is 5 or 9. This is a 7. Always. Some very unintuitive deductions, but maybe because I'm not paying attention to obvious things like this 7. Looking at this 6, 8. Sleuth. We can do better. Like this 7, looking at it 6. I'm sure many of you are just shouting at your screens right now, just saying, Sleuth, just please pay attention. So this is actually quite restricted now. I think this has to be 1, 2. Because it's not 3, 6, it's not 2, 4, and it clearly can't be 4 and an 8. So this is 1, 2, which will probably help. Yeah, 3, 4 pair. That gives me 5. That will unwind all of the confusing 5s that we've had. That's a 5 now. That's a 1. That's a 5. That's the 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Essentially 6, 7, 8, 9. This 8, 9 would have to be in here. And then we need a 3, 8, 9 in there. Now, I don't think that 4 could be joined with 8 and 9. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a 3. That has to be a 2. It can be a 4, but it's obviously on a Renban, and I've already placed the 4, so that's a 2, that's a 1, that's a 2. This is 1 or 5, it's not a 5, that's a 1. Already got 6, 7, and 8, and that's a 9. That makes this an 8. This is a 6, 7 pair, that 8 keeps going. This is a 6, 8 pair, and this is a 9. This is an 8. Lovely. Does this 6, 8... No, now that's a 9. I'm pretty sure that's not 3 or 4. Because 4, 5, 6 doesn't come anywhere near it. In fact, I'm not even sure 6 does. 6, 8, yeah, it does. 7. That removes 6 and 8 as an option. This has to be 3 or 4. With a 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, that has to be a 4. That has to be an 8. That has to be a 6. That has to be an 8. That is 3. That is 4. That 4 continues. That's 2. That's 4. And to complete this, I think it's a 5, 6 pair to complete this Renban. I should probably check which Renbans have I not completed. Yeah, actually kind of largely done. 8. So we've got 6, 7, and 9 in here, I think. Got 6 and 7, which gives me a 9. This is a 6, 7 pair. That 5, 6 is looking at this cell. That has to be the 7. That has to be the 6. If that's a 5, that can't be a 6. Can it be a 4? No, it's not 4 or 6. That is a 6. That is a 5. That has to be 7 because it's not a 5. What do we have left in here? 3 and 9. Not resolved, and we can just write this in. It's a 2, which includes a 3 in here. That is the 3. That would have to be 1 or 5, essentially the addition onto this Renban. And I think that is kind of the Renbans extracted for all they're worth at this point, in a way. So it is kind of going to come down to classic Sudoku, isn't it? So let's have a think about this one. We need another 4, 5, or 9, and an 8. This seems to be, I'm not going to say quite any of them, but a lot of them. Just not the 5. This could be, again, not the 9, but it could, or the 5. So this is 4 or 8. This has a 1. There's no 1 in this box. So this is 1, 2. That's not a 2. That's a 4, 5. That has to be the 8. This is not an 8. Yeah, that doesn't resolve yet. That 4, 5 gives me 2, gives me 4. Those 2 4s were done. So I'm just looking around, checking if there's any easy things that I've left on the table, because that seems to have been a habit. 1, 2, 4, 5. So this is not 1, 2, or 5. That's got to be a 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 4. That 4 gives me 9, gives me 5, gives me 4, gives me 5. That 5 is not possible. That 5 is. Just spotted that 9, gives me 3, 9. And we're basically nearly done. I need a 3 in here, not resolved. I need a 6, not resolved either. Just gonna pencil mark them just to see if I've missed anything. 8 is resolved, so that's 8, that's 3, that's 6. That gives me, I think, a 3 down here, yeah. This is 6 or 7, not resolved. That's another 6 or 7, not resolved. I'm hoping this would help me resolve everything. That's a 9. Renbans. That 7 tells me that's a 6, that's a 7, that's a 6. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's a 7. Lovely puzzle. Like, very slow start. Very slow start for me, at least. it was almost like 15 minutes before I really put any digits. And then the next 10 minutes basically placed them all down. Interesting puzzle, really interesting. So you can see that the partial rotational symmetry continues. You've got some very weird things like 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s. Yeah, so it's almost as if outside of box 5, it is rotationally symmetrical. Yes. So all of these are rotationally symmetrical. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fascinating. And I'm not sure I entirely get why. Kind of the partial rotation, and it's not really something that I think you can use as part of your solve. Anyhow, hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle and the video, and I'll see you back for the next one. It will be an easier puzzle. I think we've done quite a few difficult ones this week, like I said. Bye-bye for now.